Hi, girls. I'm Susie.
And I'm Sherry.
Grab a coffee or your favorite cup of tea.
Pull up a seat and take a deep breath.
We are dropping the pretenses.
And we're letting go of the need for perfection.
Come join the conversation. This is the Pink Seat.
Hello and welcome to the Pink Seat Pod.
Hi, girls. We are here in a special Mother's Day Pink Seat podcast, right?
I'm super excited.
So we have some special guests.
Yes, I'm going to introduce you all to my mother. This is Nancy.
Hello.
Yay!
Thanks for
Welcome. I know. You look beautiful. We're so glad you're here.
Thanks for the invite.
Aw.
And my mom couldn't be here, but I have the next best thing. My mother-in-law, Jean, is here. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
I know. And you just got a new car.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Oh, how fun.
Yes.
So cute. And it's your favorite color, which I love. Tell us about it.
Yes. It is yellow with a little tint of green to it.
Cute.
And it's a Nissan Kicks, so,
It's so
I can
cute.
just kick my way around the countryside.
That's fun.
I love that it's your favorite color.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Nancy, what's your favorite color? Do you have one?
Not really.
No. Sherry, do you have a favorite color?
Guess what my favorite color is? You should know.
I actually don't know.
Really? It's pink.
Pink.
Is it really?
I love pink so much. I think I just found my whole life to be pink stuff.
I
so fun.
love
That's
pink.
so cute.
I love it.
I think
I do.
I've always said, well, not always, but often I will say my favorite color is green.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know. I don't think I have
Yeah.
a favorite, but I
Yeah,
have
I
green eyes. I do like green. I like green in the spring. I like
Yes.
dark green in the fall and Christmas time.
I like to
wear
decorate with green. Like
Yes.
green. I have a lot of green things in my house. I don't decorate with pink really, but I just
Right.
like pink. I just like
I
pink.
love pink lipstick.
Yes, pink nails, pink. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
have a
always do
pink
pink
like
nails.
pink
It's a good
mug,
pop.
pink water mug. I just love pink. I don't know.
Like pink accessories.
Pink accessories. Thank you. That's
But I feel like you have a pretty neutral closet.
100%.
Like
All
you-
I wear is neutral colors.
Like you have beige, white,
Uh-huh.
black.
Gray.
How about you, Nancy?
Yeah.
What's your closet?
It's
Palette.
only
You
like,
know you wear colors, Mom.
I do. I
You
do. But I wear a lot of like browns and stuff like that. but-
Earth
Do you?
tones.
Earth tones, yeah.
How about you, Jean? What's your palette for your closet? If we like took a picture, what colors?
I have a lot of neutral, but
You
then I have
do.
pops of color.
I think
I
that's the
have
best.
way more color, and I have to make myself buy neutral things because I know it looks good on.
Yeah.
But I'm never drawn to a neutral piece of clothing ever.
Really?
I have to force myself to buy.
Yeah, that's all I buy is neutral.
I can't. I don't know. I have to make myself because I know it looks good on. But I would never like go in a store and be like, oh, look at this tan shirt. I have to have it.
That's so funny because that's how I am. But you wear stuff with color, and then I'm like, it looks adorable on you. Like the outfit you wore for was it Valentine's Day?
Oh, yeah.
that was like
My
red
picnic
and
basket.
checkered. I would never go into a store and be like, I'm gonna buy that. But on you,
No, picnic
adorable.
blanket. Yeah, my daughter
Picnic
said I look like a
blanket.
picnic blanket. I'm
You
like,
looked
thanks.
so cute. I loved it.
So we need to combine our wardrobes, and then we would have the best of
No.
both worlds.
Absolutely.
I find the opposite, that if I buy bright colors, I'm attracted to them in the store. I love them. I buy them and they sit in the closet. I put them on and think, maybe next time, and I hang it back up again
Yes.
and wear the neutral.
Jean, I am
Really?
exactly like you.
Really?
I have colors
Yep.
in my closet, and I tend to not wear them very often. Like I'll
So
put it on and be like,
interesting.
no, I'll just stick with beige.
Yeah.
Because
so
beige is
funny.
safe, and I look good in it.
I
so.
do
Yeah.
better in the summer with the brighter colors.
Yes.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Well, we are here for our Mother's Day edition. So I love that we have our moms here.
Me too.
So I have to ask, what is one thing, ladies, our special guest, that you have loved the most about being a mom? It's a hard
There's a
one.
lot- I know. There's a lot to that question.
Well, I can say, I mean, I loved when the kids were the unconditional love, with your
Yes.
kids. It's like, and that they would be so cute and always hugging you.
Yes.
And you're like, I,
miss
love you,
that.
mommy, or whatever, and always hugs, So you were their superstar.
Before they hit puberty and they
True.
want to be with you all the time,
Yes.
and they love you no matter. They're like puppy dogs
Oh, I
that love you
so
no
miss
matter
that.
what.
You can't even use the bathroom without your kids following
Right.
you in there.
Yes.
Sticking their fingers under the door. Mom, are you in
Mom,
there?
and they say, Mom, where are you? It's
Yeah.
like,
But you miss that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unconditional love. How about you, Jean?
I thought about that, and that's, when your kids are under 5 or under 7, that's the part you love, is that love that you get all the time. And, when they're hurt or, they come running, mommy, I need help or whatever. But, as my kids got older, I loved watching their personalities develop and how they are so different, but, and such different personalities, yet come from the same parents and same, my kids are only a year apart. So it just seems so crazy that they were so different.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I loved watching that.
Oh, that's fun.
Cute. So since you're here, I have to know what was the hardest thing about raising Cherry?
Actually, she was really easy to raise. To be
Oh.
truthful. The hardest part about raising her was, well, actually, I can share this. When she was born, she almost died because she stopped breathing. She was like a SIDS baby in the hospital.
Wow.
This other doctor, I remember having her, and because she was my second child. And I remember the doctor, my sister came to visit me, my oldest
Yeah.
sister. And she goes, why are all these doctors looking at Sherry? And I'm like, I don't
What?
know, because she was in the nursery, right? So
Oh my
I walked out there with her,
goodness.
and I walk out to the nursery, and I see my pediatrician, and he goes, he calls me over, and he
Wow.
goes, and then he explains to me that she stopped breathing.
Whoa.
The other
Wow.
GYN OB saw her when he went to check on
Oh my
one of his patient's
goodness.
babies, and he saw her that she was
Wow.
gray, and he touched her, and then she's you know what I mean.
Kind of jostled
So
back.
he's like, so
Wow.
we have to do all these tests. They had to do, spinal taps, and they had to do all these testing, and then they put her on a monitor, the sleep
Yeah.
monitor.
After that.
And so I remember going, oh my goodness. So then I remember walking and I turning around to go back to the room, and I burst into tears. My sister had to catch me, because you know how your stomach muscles, I'm like going, I almost fell on the floor.
Wow.
But that was the hard thing, but then it wasn't hard in essence, because God was so faithful that she was fine,
Wow.
Sometimes she'd make the monitor go off at home, but it was because her heart rate dropped so much.
Right.
not
How
the
long
breathing.
did I have to be on that monitor? Like 6
It was like
months?
3 months.
Oh, the first 3 months?
Or maybe it was 5 months.
Okay.
So if you were home, you could have died.
I know.
In a crib
Like, thank God
somewhere.
that had
Oh,
happened
yeah.
in the nursery at the hospital.
And that someone saw.
No. Yeah.
Because you're right, those little babies aren't attached to anything. They're all just
No,
laying
they just
in
lay
those
there.
cute little boxes. My goodness.
But that would be,
Yeah.
but that wasn't hard in essence. She didn't have anything to, but then the
Right.
hardest part of her is the fact when she had to move out. That was the hardest part.
sweet.
She was, you know what she does for a living. So she was
Yeah.
the house was always
Is
clean.
that why
That's
I
why-
was sad that I left?
Let's just get practical.
And
She's like,
she-
my house is not clean anymore.
If it wasn't for the fact that
a
you
baker.
cleaned, then who cares? Get her out.
No, plus she loved to bake.
I did.
So when I would
Yeah.
be at work or come home, she would always be baking something.
It's
and
true.
so
I'd clean the house
So
and make her
fun.
baked goods. So what's not to love?
What's not to
Really?
love?
Can you move in with me?
And
Perfect child.
she was like, as teenagers, her and Amber, we loved to go to the mall shopping. We would do all this stuff because
We
Dan was in the
would.
military, and sometimes he'd be gone for
Yeah.
3 months or 4 months at a
Wow.
time. So we were always like shopping or going out to eat or something.
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
fun.
That's
I
cute.
know.
But
It
she
was
wasn't
fun.
a hard child at all to raise.
No, I
was
can
good.
attest to that. Not to like toot my own horn or pat
Yeah.
myself on the back. I did not give my mother a hard time. We just didn't have that kind of relationship. We weren't. I wasn't slamming doors in her face and saying I hate you. And
Yeah.
that's just not how we were. I was respectful and we had fun together. And
Well, you're going to have to tell us all your tips and tricks, Nancy, on how to raise a daughter.
I know.
She's like, I don't know.
No.
Right? You should write a book.
I mean, but Amber, all of my kids were pretty good.
Well, I don't think that's quite your story. Now,
Tell us, Jean. We want to know.
We want to hear about Mike.
I did not know that there was a possibility of having a strong-willed child. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know anybody else that had a strong-willed child.
Okay.
And I've heard people talk about strong-willed
Right,
children,
sure.
but I didn't know anybody that had one.
Yeah.
And so when Mike came along, and even as a newborn, didn't sleep hardly at all.
Awful.
Oh my goodness.
And he would catnap 15, 20 minutes and then be up for a while. And then 15, 20 minutes,
so
you know,
hard.
babies nap for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours. I never saw that with him. And when he started walking at like 9, 10 months, and it was just like, let me into everything.
Wow.
He was just a wild child.
And he was your first.
He was my first. And it was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do
I'm
this?
surprised you had another one.
Well,
I know.
And so close together.
Yeah.
Dave and I talked about, you know what, maybe we'll just have one. And I was pregnant.
Oh, all right.
And Mike was only 5 months old.
What?
And so
I did not know that.
when I got the news from the doctor, because when we were talking about it, I'm thinking, well, they say when you're nursing, you don't get your cycle.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I just thought it was
Yeah.
that. And so I thought, well, maybe I should go see the doctor. And so I did. And when they called and they were so happy and congratulating me, and I'm weeping on the phone, I said to the girl, the nurse, I said, I have a baby. I don't want another one.
Right.
And because he was so hard at such a young age, it was like, how am I going to have another one now?
Right.
Dave came home and I just collapsed on him and bawled my head off. And he's like, honey, God gave us this baby and he'll give us the strength to, you know, get
But
through
it's
it.
overwhelming to
But
get that kind
it
of
was.
news. Yeah.
But, you know, God gave us a little girl that was, you know, sounds like very much like you, very compliant and easy.
yeah.
And God knew I needed, you know, a
knew you
break
needed
the
that.
second time around. But Mike was very, and even through his toddler's age and his.
So he was always like that.
He was
Teenage years,
always like that.
everything.
And the best thing that turned him, the thing that really turned him around is putting him in organized sports. And once he got into organized sports and he could let out that energy.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, thank goodness we found what
We found an
worked.
outlet for him.
You know, but I'm telling you, when he was not even 3, I think, I bought the book Parenting Isn't for Cowards and The Strong-Willed Child. And both of those books changed how we parented.
Okay.
Because you
And-
just don't know, right?
Yes.
Like you said,
Right.
if you don't know anyone else that has a kiddo like that,
Yep.
and then it's easy because other moms are judging you.
Yes.
And they're thinking your kid's out of control because you're a bad mom. But that's not the case at all. You're having to adjust everything you know
Yep.
to meet your kid's needs.
Wow.
Was there something you did or tweaked that you remember doing? Or is it just kind of in general?
I think once I read those books and realized that I wasn't the only parent, you know, we weren't the only
Right.
family that had a
Sure.
strong-willed child like this. And that helps you to relax. And then they're Christian books that I bought. And so it was reassuring that, you know, giving it to God and trusting and believing that God's on your side, that in itself made it easier.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
and I was able to then ignore the people and the comments.
Okay.
I bought a harness for Mike at a very young age because I had a baby as
Sure.
well. And so I would put this harness on him and people were so rude. You know, oh, you have a leash on your child and, you know, like say it right to your face.
Oh
and
my gosh,
and a
yeah.
couple of times I would say, well, would you like to chase him through a parking lot? Because I did that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
and so you have
scary.
to
You
do
get hit
what
by a car.
yeah.
You gotta keep
And
it-
so I was able to then just give it to God and not comment back to people and just
Right.
ignore them.
Good. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I feel like there's
Sounds like a lot.
some parents, some moms with strong-willed kids that are feeling like, I'm glad I'm not alone, right? To know
Yes.
that.
When you don't
Yeah.
know till you're going through it, like she said, she didn't know like you could have a strong-willed child like that, but that is a real thing that
Yeah.
parents deal with.
Yeah.
When you see those kids in the store taken off from their parents and this and that, and sometimes you do, you're quick to like judge the parent when it's really not the parent's fault. This
Right.
is just how their child is wired.
And the other thing that we have to keep in mind, and I had people say to me out of love, you know, oh, he's a strong-willed child and someday God is really going to use that. So don't,
Sure,
you
don't like stifle
break
it
him,
necessarily.
And then I was like, oh dear Lord. Now I got to try not to ruin this child with, and so there's finding a balance and just trusting that God gave him that personality, so he's going to help you work through it.
Sure,
And
yeah.
yeah.
I do. I've said that before about my kids when they're being stubborn. I'm like, you can use this to your advantage someday. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be strong-willed and stubborn, but you have to know how to channel that.
Right. Yeah.
And use it for good, not
to change the world. Not,
I know.
Totally. Create havoc for your family and your parents.
I know.
Exactly.
Do you have any strong-willed kids?
I would say Sam, my son. He was the most strong-willed, like as a toddler, as a small kid. He's not really like that now, but boy, I mean, with certain things still, like, he'll have soda in the fridge and the girls will want it. And he's just like, no, you can't have it. And I'm like, just share it with them. We can buy more. No, you're not having it. Like, with certain things, he's just so like, this is the way it's going to be.
Doesn't bend.
Does not bend. So yeah, I still see that in him. It was worse when he was like 3, 4, 5. I mean, when he was little, I used to be like, this kid is so stubborn.
Yeah.
I mean, just so stubborn, so strong-willed, but it has gotten better as he's gotten older. He's almost 15, so. But yeah.
Interesting.
He doesn't like to share.
Yeah. Well,
what about you? So, do you have any strong-willed kids?
Not like
Mike was. Okay.
No.
I didn't know if that was like passed down to your children.
And you can thank God,
child,
Dave and I for that, because a lot of people say, I hope you have a child just like you. Yes. I never did that. I always prayed, Lord, I just pray that Mike never has a child that is this strong-willed and difficult to handle.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you didn't.
Right.
Jean's prayers saved you, Susie.
Yes,
okay.
Thank God for that. Maybe that's why we didn't have a boy.
I know. That could be. I know.
I don't know. It's interesting to think about, right?
Funny.
Yeah. Well, it's so fun to have you guys on in your years of experience and wisdom raising kids. And obviously, Sherry turned out great and Mike turned out great. So the proof is in the pudding, right?
I know.
And we love the scripture in Proverbs 22 that says to start children off on the way they should go, and how you really have this weight of responsibility as moms to instill that into your kids. So how did you build faith into your home as part of your everyday life?
Well, I homeschooled, so I had used Christian curriculum. So they were always reading wholesome Christian stories and writing out scriptures, and I had them memorize scriptures, and so we always had that in our house.
Yeah, and she brought us to church.
Yeah.
We had a midweek service, and we would always go on Sundays. I mean, going to church wasn't something that you thought about. Like, are we going today? You went to church. That was our upbringing.
Saturday they went to church also. They went to church Saturday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. I babysat at a church down the street from our house.
Okay.
To make extra money, I babysat in their nursery. And so I brought my kids with me. So they were a part of the
Sunday
church
service.
Yeah. It's a Baptist church that's a Seventh-day Baptist.
Yeah.
So they had
It was
friends
fun. We went to vacation Bible school in the summer.
I taught vacation Bible school there.
Yeah.
And it was just, so they were raised in church and around Christian kids. So that, and homeschooling them, I felt, Danny went to kindergarten in first grade. And then I took him out in second grade. And then Amber went back. Amber went to school in 11th grade. She was homeschooled up till 11th grade because she wanted to go to cosmetology. And at the time, that was included in our school. They paid,
You had to go to BOCES.
You had to go to BOCES to do that.
As part of high school.
So she went to that. So, yeah. So I learned a lot. Because I remember teaching them and going, this is what that was.
Well, it's funny, Mom. I just had a conversation with one of my friends today who homeschools.
Yeah.
And we were talking about online learning. And that wasn't a thing. Like, there was no online classes.
Right.
Like, she was the teacher for everything. We didn't have access to anything like that. It's come a long way. Homeschooling curriculum and things have come a long way.
So you had to teach it. There wasn't an online
And it was a joy to teach my kids. Well, Danny didn't. I didn't have to teach him how to read, but it was fun to teach Sherry and Amber how to read. To have that. When they finally got it, that it was like, yes,
I know.
So
you got the reward because you were the one to teach them.
And I did. It was. I mean, it was hard at times, but I knew it was what we're supposed to do, what I was supposed to do. And
she didn't like the quarterly report, Susie.
Oh, gee.
Yes.
You are going to know all about that soon.
Yeah, I have a quarterly report that's already past due. Yeah. But I have done them before because I did them for Adeline. So, yeah.
So I guess being raised at home, I had control over what they were learning, and I could raise them up in the ways of the Lord.
Yeah.
Like the scripture says.
How about you, Jean?
We lived in a small town, and because we lived in a small town and our kids went to church and they went to Sunday school, they went to the midweek thing, but they also went to school with all of those kids because we lived in a small town.
Right.
And so even if they went to a school outside of town, because we lived a little bit out of town, several of the kids were in their classes. And so it was really nice that a lot of families were in the same schools.
Absolutely.
And then when they all went to high school, they were all in high school. There was only one high school. And so that was a real bonus. But I think taking the kids to all of the services that they could. The midweek, that is for them.
Yeah.
You know, it was Crusaders or, you know, like there was different programs for the kids then. And then there was Sunday school, which was before church back then. And so you would go and the kids would go to their Sunday school. Then they would come into the church service for part of it, for the worship, and then go down to kids church after. So they basically got two services and Sunday night, like you said, Nancy.
So did you not have to choose between hockey and church? Was there like just hockey wasn't on church days back then?
No, we had to choose, and we got a little bit I don't know, maybe the word's chastised from some people because we would miss the odd Sunday because of hockey, but we tried not to miss, and we tried to encourage the team if we could to practice on other days,
right?
Because we would Mike was a very good hockey player, so we would say he's not coming to practice if it's every single Sunday. If there's a game on the odd Sunday, we'll do that, but we're not going to do practices so that he misses every single one. And so the coaches were good about that.
I mean, I remember at one point the girls wanted to do like some kind of cheer program, but it was Sundays, and I had to tell them, no, we're not doing that. You can't, we're not doing something that's every Sunday that you're going to miss church for. And, you know, we would try to do things like when Adeline had volleyball, school volleyball was okay, but club volleyball, there were a lot of weekends. And we would look at the event calendar and, you know, pick and choose and say, well, hey, you can have there's 2 Sundays we can do. Other than that, if it's a Saturday, Sunday tournament, you can play Saturday, but you're not going to play Sunday to try to make those. But you know, every family has to make those choices for themselves. And I think it's important that we're not like criticizing or condemning families but I think the key of what you're both saying is you kind of create an environment where your kids had other kids that were Christians and were like-minded.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that's important. You know, obviously you're talking about your faith, you're taking them to church, but like you talked about how important it was for them to have Christian kids in their classes. You didn't put your kids in public school, so they weren't around.
And I was very careful with my kids who their friends were. You know, because I got to be in charge and control who they hung out with. If they hung out with certain people, it'd be like, yo, you're not hanging out with them again.
Yeah.
You know, because what does this say in Proverbs? Bad company corrupts good morals.
It's so true.
And they could pick up things, and it's like, nah, where'd you learn that from? You know, so just it's our responsibility.
And
right?
it's not just kids; it's even young adults. It's very common for kids to graduate high school, go to college, and their circle of influence changes, and you see them change.
Yes.
And I was just watching a Netflix show, and this woman was talking about how she was an adult in her career, but she was struggling, and through it, she said, as an adult, I started hanging out with the wrong people, and I started doing drugs. I started partying, doing these things as an adult. Yeah. And so you think, as an adult with a fully functioning brain that's already developed, how much harder it is for our kids to make those choices. And, you know, I've seen that with my kids too. Like, there was a season that we homeschooled Adeline, a very, very short season, but it was because she was struggling with her friendships, and she didn't have any Christian friends at school. And she would tell me, like, you know, we had basically a come to Jesus moment, and she was sobbing and telling me, like, it's too hard. It's too hard to try and be this person when I don't have anyone else there to help me in it. And so, and she said, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's why we decided to homeschool her for just that short season. And then COVID happened, and you know, then she was okay as an older. But I've always said, we'll take each child as they come. Each kid has their own personality. They go through different seasons, you know, to kind of take them as they come. Now, your kids are in public school.
My kids are all in
even
public
though you
school.
were homeschooled, that was the choice you made for your family.
And I think it depended for us. Like, we're in a very small school district. So, you know, we weighed the pros and cons of that. We liked the school. We, you know, met a lot of the teachers. And I think there's a big difference, though. In elementary school, I was very involved. I was volunteering in their preschool classes and in their kindergarten classes. And it kind of seems very innocent. As they have gotten older and kind of went up in the grades, there has been some things, you know, with teachers saying things, or you just kind of see, you know, their friendships have changed. I don't agree with everything. But that's, you know, a choice that we made. And it's worked out well for all of my kids being in the school they're in. We haven't had any issues or problems, really. So,
and that's so true about the school district, because even elementary school, you know, I thought that too. Like, if we're going to homeschool, elementary school, they're really not teaching or trying to. That's how it was when my kids were little. Now, a lot of school districts are indoctrinating their children at a young age. And they're, you know.
In fact, I told my husband just recently, I said, if we were having a baby now, which we're not, but if we were, that child would not be going to school. Like, I just see so much has changed since, you know, my kids were in elementary, and Emily's now she'll be going into 8th grade in the fall. So it's just different. Things have changed.
I remember during COVID, when you had to teach the kids at home, and I remember Sherry calling me going, Mom, how did you do this?
It was a lot.
She'd be like, oh.
Well, it was overwhelming to have all of a sudden all 4 of my kids home, and I was in charge of, like, making sure their work was done, and they were getting on their online classes, and it was overwhelming.
Don't you think, though, that you said you felt like that's what you were supposed to do, and when you do what you feel like you're supposed to do, there's a grace, I think, that you're given.
Absolutely.
And so during COVID, and everybody just had to do it. So many people I spoke to has said the same thing, like, oh my gosh, we were just like, okay, now teach them, you know.
It was just handed to you. You didn't have a choice. It was just kind of like, here you go.
And the kids not wanting to do it, and it was just a terrible time.
It was awful.
Whereas, you know, when you homeschooled your children, and I know many families that have homeschooled and had great, you know, time doing it, and great, what do you say, that, you know, like they finished well. You know, and that was important.
And I think, I don't know, when my kids were little especially, I had considered homeschooling, but I didn't know anyone who was, and I know you say, like, you didn't know anyone either at the time.
But year I started, I had no one that was doing it, and I did it, and then all of a sudden I went to the homeschool convention, which is out in Syracuse. They always had all the different curriculum. People came from all over. Leah was called. And I was like, so nervous, but I knew I was supposed to do it. And I had a girlfriend that was a teacher that went with me to the convention, and I learned about all this stuff. And then once I decided I was going to homeschool, then all of a sudden my sister decided to homeschool that year. My good friend decided to homeschool. So all of us started to homeschool at the same time.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
That's
I
so
know.
neat. I do think it's much easier now. There's so much information.
Oh, it's
so
so
many
different.
resources.
Yes.
You can have an online teacher. You can do
Yep.
online or workbooks. There's different options, different price points. And
I just feel like it's more popular.
Yes.
Now. People are getting on board with this.
yeah.
So.
And we are starting as a church. It's called a micro school. So it's kind of a bridge between a homeschool co-op, but we will have an actual paid teacher here at the church providing education 3 days a week for 3 hours a day starting in the fall.
Yeah,
so if
that's
you
exciting.
do have kids between K through 6 in that age range, that's where we're starting. But I think it will expand from there.
Yeah.
But I also want to be careful. You know, you can raise Christian children in a Christian home without homeschooling. There are many
Well,
families
I'm proof of that. Yes.
Yes.
We are doing that with our kids, and
Right.
it's just fine. So
Exactly.
there's no shame if you're not homeschooling your
Yeah.
kids. That's not the only way to do it.
Right.
I felt I was called to do that. So
Yeah.
that's the difference, listening
Well,
to the
that's
leading
just-
of the
yeah.
Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you were called, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not qualified to do this. My kids are going to school.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I could have done it in elementary school.
Yeah.
But now with Ivy, she's a sophomore, and we just started homeschooling, and it's been the best decision. We love it. We love that we just feel like she's pulled back in and close to us again, and I feel like I'm starting to see more of who she is come back.
Yeah.
I think a big part of that was lost in the environment that she was in because of her personality, that it just wasn't something that she could manage well.
Right.
And it's been, I've been amazed to see how quickly too the change that we've seen in her.
Good.
But as far as, raising your kids at home, was there something that you did? Because so much of what you do is consistent, right? Like over time, like you can't take these kids that have never heard about the Lord and then one day be like, oh, let's pray. And then,
By the way.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like, but so now can you identify these were the things that I did that made a difference?
There's one thing that I thought about when I read that question, and Dave and I never really got a babysitter for our kids.
Okay.
We took our kids everywhere.
Wow.
We would go to friends' house to play games and watch movies, and our kids came. They slept on the floor in the bedroom or on the our friend's bed, and it didn't matter how old they were. They came with us, and I think they really grew to love that. And so even as they got a little older and they were, preteens, they would still come with us. We hardly ever left them at home. And I think that was a real...
Was that because they would kill each other if they were home alone?
Well, you know what? I honestly don't know. I mean, that probably could have been, but and Mike's personality being so strong-willed was probably a factor in the reason we started doing that in the first place, and that we didn't have a lot of extra money to pay a babysitter, but we wanted to go to friends, and so we would have people at our house, and we would go to friends' house. And our kids just always came with us. And I feel like that was, we were their influence, and our friends who were all Christian from the church were their influence.
Yeah, I love that.
And so I think that was a big,
Okay.
a big deal for us. And I also really feel like, that we've talked about taking them to church and taking them to the programs that, are at the church for the kids. And, by the time my kids were preteens, like there was no staying home. Like if Dave and I had a really busy day and wanted to stay home from something, they're like standing at the door, come on, somebody's taking us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, it just consistency means something, to kids. And so they got used to going, and that's what they wanted to do. And so I think that was a really big influence and help in our kids' life as well.
Okay. How about you, Nancy?
Well, I needed a break, so when the kids were little, we had my mother-in-law would watch them when they were little. But then but when they were really, really little, we didn't go away that much either.
No.
But my mother-in-law would babysit for them when they were small.
Yeah.
And then as they got a little bit older, I had Dan has a cousin, and they were married now, Chris and Christy. Mm-hmm. And they would come over to come together and babysit. And they had so much fun with them.
We did. We loved our babysitter.
And Chris was like a black belt in karate, so he would do karate with Danny and love that. And then Christy, I don't know what she did with you guys.
We would do her hair. We would put every barrette we could find in our babysitter's hair. We would brush it and play hairdresser.
But she was a Christian too, so we trusted them, and they loved it when they came. And but then
maybe that's why Amber became a hairdresser, because she was always doing Christy's hair.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it stemmed from.
That's cute.
But then as they got older too, and with friends in church that had the same age kids, we had really good close friends that we were always at their house.
Yeah.
And they would come to our house, but the kids always, they had best friends.
I think as far as going to church goes, like, I just love the fact that you set the foundation. So your kids are going to reach a certain age where they're going to decide for themselves, right? But you're planting those seeds from the time they're little. You're saying, like, this is what we do as a family. We go to church, and they're hearing that, right? I was hearing the word. I was listening to worship music. I encountered God from a very, very young age. Like, I always felt the Holy Spirit from a very young age. So if I hadn't been raised in church, I wouldn't have had that.
Right.
And it's not that you can't come to God later in life. You can. We see that all of the time. But what a blessing to be able to say, like, I've walked with the Lord my entire life. I mean, that's a blessing. So I think, you really are setting that foundation for them, because life is hard, especially when you're a teenager, when you're a young adult. There's a lot, even going on with my kids, and you just think, like, you know the word. You've been taught this. You have that in you.
One thing that Mike and I did with our girls is we would pray with them every night at bedtime.
I love that.
And I think that was important for them to hear us pray, to end their day with that kind of just, let's talk to Jesus. And then in the morning before they would go to school, we would pray with them as well. And I talked to a couple, it was a while ago, and they told me we just started praying with our kids at bedtime. But it's interesting because I think they were a little nervous about it, because if you're doing something you've never done before, you might
a little awkward.
Yes, you might feel a little awkward. You might feel a little uncomfortable. So for looking for a place to start, I think that's a great place is to just pray with your kid at bedtime, or maybe you work nights. You don't have the opportunity. Pray with them in the morning, or find a time that you can set that consistent, because every night your kid's going to need to get put to bed. Right? Or every night they're going to have to leave to get on that school bus. So just to take that moment. Any other thoughts, Sherry?
No, I was going to laugh and say maybe my kids should come in my room and pray with me before I go to bed, because now I go to bed before all of my children. Yes, they can come put me to bed.
Well, we don't pray with them anymore, but they were pretty old. Adeline, I put her to bed. I don't remember what time we stopped. Younger than Ivy, but Ivy, I put her to bed for a lot of years, and gradually that changes. But it's a moment, right? You can create those moments with your kids.
Well, and I think because sometimes as parents we think it has to be all or nothing, but just the simple act of praying. Because I don't know, we tried family devotions so many times, like nightly family devotions, and we would do good for like 3 nights, and then it was like, this isn't working.
We've never done family devotions.
That's what I mean. You don't always have to put this pressure on yourself to like, we're going to memorize scripture every night, and we're going to do this and this and this. Sometimes it's just the act of praying with your kids before they go to bed. Can be something simple.
I did that with you guys. Every night.
Don't you think when you're a young mom or your young parents, and you hear about somebody doing something and it's like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm going to try that. And then it doesn't work, and you can feel like a failure. And I think it's really important that, especially young families, just find what works for them.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's easy,
well said.
To put your kids to bed and pray with them. We did that every night. Sometimes we read stories. Sometimes we didn't, and then we also prayed I also prayed with the kids in the morning when I could. But then when I started to work and had to leave the house before they did to go to school, they were preteens, and I felt bad, not being able to pray with them anymore before because they weren't even awake yet when I left at 6 a.m. And so, but I had to let go of that and just do what works for you.
Right.
But do something.
Yes.
Because they were learning other things from you. They were learning what it means to get up early, to have discipline, to be responsible, to take care of your family. Your kids are learning things from you all the time. Absolutely. And just because you can't parent or you don't parent exactly the way someone else does, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And God knows who your children need as a parent, right? Like he knew your kids' homeschool was a valuable part and something that they needed. And so there are so many different nuances. And that's why it's so important for us to have our own relationship with the Lord, listen to the Holy Spirit, don't compare ourselves, which is much easier said than done. We all know that. But to ask God, what is the key going to be for my family? Maybe it is praying over them. Maybe it is making church more of a priority. Maybe for some families, it's taking the leap to homeschool. It's different for everybody.
It is. Right. Because every mom every mom is different. Every kid is different. Every family is different. You can't do it all the same way. So,
so for moms that are feeling overwhelmed right now, maybe you remember what that felt like when Mike was out of control and going crazy, or you're homeschooling children, Nancy, and trying to like you said, you're learning the curriculum to teach them. So for the mom that feels like tired, stretched, overworn, maybe Mother's Day just happened, but she's like, I didn't really get a Mother's Day. The laundry's piling up and the dishes are never done and the mouths are never satisfied. Like I still have to cook another meal. What would you say to just encourage that mom?
I think we've talked a little bit about it already, about doing what works for you. And, but I really think that I wish I had have given myself a little more grace when Mike was very young and it was difficult to get through each day. And at the end of the day, and I would be like, oh, what could I have done different? What should I have done that I didn't do? And, as parents, we kind of beat ourselves up sometimes, but I think we have to learn to give ourselves grace. And then when my kids were like 6 and 7 years old, we were doing a lot of camping and spending a lot of time. There was probably 20 families that would go out to an island out where we lived and all camp together.
How fun.
And that's fun.
We had so much fun camping.
But that's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And
you got to bring all that.
Yes, exactly. And who gets it all ready but mom? But, the thing that I learned out there camping with all of our friends was to be connected with your friends. And so after the first year of doing that, going camping with all of our friends, when we would be involved in other things, we would talk to each other and, be able to confide in each other about what you're going through and pray for each other. And so I found it very, very helpful having that one or two friends that you can always go to, always talk to, just get it off your chest. I feel like a bad mom. I feel like, and they're going to encourage you and pray with you and, help you through that. Yes. And then you can be that for them as well. And so that, I think, was really important for me when my kids were younger.
And I remember when Mike and I were meeting some of his childhood friends because they were still his friends as an adult. And I think that's really special and something that I've always admired about you guys and the way you raise your kids, because I didn't really have that. It was growing up, and I don't know many people that do, truthfully. Like really our generation, you think of the way culture has changed so much. And, even the idea of how people used to hang out on their front porches.
I know.
And then they would visit neighbors. But now people want to be in their back patio with their privacy fences.
They don't want to see
If someone's at the door, it's like hide, right? Like culture has changed and shifted so much. And so you have to fight for that. And you have to be intentional, I think, to have those kinds of friendships, don't you think?
No, it's interesting. I still have a friend from childhood, Rachel, and she texted me this morning saying, "Good morning. I just want you to know I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your kids." And it means so much to me to have this girl in my life that's still, after 20 some odd years, probably like 30 years now.
Wow. That's
She'll
amazing.
still, we'll still connect, and we'll still say, like, we're praying, I'm praying for you. Or what, she texted me a couple weeks ago, what can I pray for specifically? That's just like to have a friend like that in life, to have that kind of support, someone saying they're praying for you, means everything.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
How about you, Nancy? Any words of wisdom?
Well, I think for the moms, like you said, have grace and not to be too hard on themselves, but they need to take a break too. Like the dishes will always get done eventually. Like for me, a lot of times I think Pam Bruno was on a few.
We talked
and
about
she mentioned
this.
about feeling guilty not playing with the kids as much.
Yes,
and
that's right.
And I've gone through that because it was
me
like
too.
I homeschooled, and I was with them, but I was teaching them. But then there was always the dishes to do. There was always dinner to get done. There was always laundry to do.
It's a million things.
Instead of me being on the floor a lot of times and doing the fun stuff. I mean, even though, and I did the best I could do with what we had, right? But it was, if I could go back, it's like, okay, the dishes can wait until,
but can they?
This sounds familiar.
You know what I mean? It's like, we read stories. I think, you go back and I think I'm just too hard on myself. Now you look back and you think, but you know what it is too? I think because
we're all
the kids
like
are
that,
older.
Mom. We're all hard on
But
ourselves.
the kids are older and they grow up so fast, and then you're like, oh,
you want that time
so
back.
you want it back. So then you do it with your grandkids. But
True.
Perfect.
but I have to say, for friendships, we have the best neighbors.
Oh, wow.
We sit outside all summer with my next door neighbors and hang out with them all the time.
Wow.
That's so nice.
Yeah, she doesn't have a privacy fence.
No.
It's just like open invitation. If the neighbors see her outside, they come over. Like that's
my
just
goodness. And for a lot of people, that would strike fear in their hearts. They'd be like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
No, and
Me researching privacy fences for my deck.
and we have like our closest friends from high school. Should I say they're the closest ones we have? I have close friends from high school, but we have a couple that's going to be at my house tonight later for the whole week.
Oh, my goodness.
We
they drive up from Virginia.
We graduated with them.
Wow.
We were in their wedding, Dan and I, and
Yeah, we call them uncle and aunt, even though they're not my uncle and aunt. Like they're just that's their family. So
their family was from here, but they live in Virginia, and they're here for the week, and so
I just think that's special. Like you can establish friendships, like Jean was talking about, like for your kids, and just kind of carry that through.
I know.
It is special.
It's
Yes.
amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's rarer than what you realize
Yes.
if you have that.
It's very
I
rare.
think a lot of people are lonely.
They are.
And feel it. Like you feel that you're missing something.
And that's so hard in motherhood when you feel lonely. That's part of the
I will
part
say
of the overwhelm is just not having the support.
Being
I
a
think,
stay-at-home
of friends.
mom was probably the loneliest season of my life.
I remember you
It
going
was
through that.
so lonely. But I mean, I
hard.
wouldn't have changed it. I knew that was what God had for me. I wanted to do it. I don't regret it, but I see how lonely it was.
Yeah.
So it's different for everybody. Your experiences are different. It's like your birth story, right? It's so different. Everyone has a different experience,
True.
a different kid out of the end of it.
Yes.
But there's a common thread that winds its way through too, and that's that we all need each other, right? We need each other.
I have a question for both of you. I want to know, what is your advice for raising adult children? Not raising adult children, I guess parenting.
Yeah.
Once they're not little anymore, right? We're in this teenage phase, we're in this young adult phase, and it can be hard. Like, you don't know. I was telling Susie, you don't know, like, do you call every day? Do you not call? Do you text? Are you texting too much? Do you need to text them more? Like, the more you push, are they going to pull away? Like, do you have any advice? Any advice? I want to know. What do you do?
how's my relationship with you? Do I text too much or call too much?
No. I mean, I wouldn't. No, not necessarily.
But I think, that's another thing too. Like knowing, like having boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to have boundaries, right? So
yeah.
And not crossing over boundaries and being like telling you how to raise your kids.
Right.
That's
it's
true.
Well, you need to do that, because there's been people that are like, they try to tell their married kids or their kids that don't live with them what they should and shouldn't do all the time. And that's not good, because I think that pushes them
people away.
But I mean, obviously prayer is huge, right? Praying that God would bring to their remembrance all that they've learned in the scriptures.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt now with texting. I mean, remember, we didn't have texting.
That's true.
We, we didn't know where the kids were, because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You couldn't track them.
No, you didn't know.
So
That's right.
There were no cell phones.
Doing a
to
text
check
message to
in.
your kids.
I know. Now we're Life 360 and
Yeah.
all of the kids, we know where they are all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how good that is either.
It's not.
It's
I don't
probably
think it's
very
good.
unhealthy at this point.
I mean, when we either, we didn't have answering machines either. If you missed the phone call, you don't know who called.
Yeah.
The phone rang.
Star 69.
But they didn't always have that.
No, I know, but
Right.
that was the first kind of thing
was
that
the
happened.
thing. But so it's just, I mean, it doesn't hurt to text and
funny.
say, "Hey, I love you."
I was at
Thinking of
grandma's house on Saturday. I went to visit my grandmother, my dad's mom, and she's in her late 80s. And she was talking to me, like, she always reminisces about, like, my dad being little, her son. She had 4 boys, and, she always gets misty-eyed talking about her boys being little. And I don't even know how we got to this part of the conversation, but she said, like, the goal in life, Sherry, is to become friends with your children. Like someday you want your kids to just be your friend.
Right.
You want them to think of you as a friend.
Right.
Like that's, and you're going to have rocky moments. She kind of admitted she was not always a great mom when her kids were teenagers, but she said, but my boys weren't always great boys. So I'm not going to put it all on myself either.
Hilarious.
And I said, you're right, Grandma.
I love that.
Because she said, they said that I was a bad mom once. She goes, well, they were bad sons.
Oh my goodness.
But she said,
That's funny.
we're friends now. And the goal is to like just become friends with your kids someday. And I said, I love that. Like, that's a good thing to keep in mind. So,
Yeah, you're friends with your kids, but you're still always mom.
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
I think communication is a big thing. And I think I went through a period of time that I didn't communicate well. And because we always lived out of town, I moved away. My husband and I moved out of town from my family when I was pregnant with Mike. So we were never around family.
Okay.
So then when Mike and Susie went into ministry and they were out of town, and so I think there can become a lack of communication.
Sure.
And then you build up in your mind things that, maybe are happening or not happening.
Right.
And so I think communication is very important. And I think that's what's really nice about texting now.
Yeah.
You can just text hey, I'm thinking about you. How's your day?
I agree.
And you don't have to go on and on a phone call or feel like I haven't talked to you in a week or two. So, do we need to get on the phone and talk for an hour?
Right.
No, we don't. We can
Yeah.
send a text and just say, hey, thinking about you, love
Just a
you,
little
hope your
connection.
day's
Yeah.
great. But I think we have to, it keeps coming back, but I keep thinking about the grace we need to give ourselves and give others. And you can look back and think about all the things you wish you had done or could have done, or,
Right.
but we can't change that.
True.
So we have to give grace and move on and have podcasts like this that we can
Encourage each other.
encourage each other
Yes.
and,
I
pass
love
on
that.
some tidbits to help
Yeah.
others,
Yeah.
Aw.
So good.
So good.
know.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
We love having you guys here, and happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day
Thank
to
you.
you.
Happy
Yes,
to
thank
you
you for
as
making
well.
us, for pouring
All of
into
you.
us and
I
investing
know.
into us, because
Yes.
we know that we are better moms because of your
Absolutely.
influence and your example and legacy for us. And it's our prayer that our daughters are going to be better moms, right? Because of what we
Absolutely.
can pass on to
Well,
them.
it's
And
not that I'm calling either of you old, but it's the older generation pouring into the younger generation
Yeah,
that
that's good.
sometimes gets lost, and we don't always see that anymore. So it really is very valuable to have women like you that can pour into me and Susie, and then we turn around and pour into our girls. So
That's right.
yeah,
we're
thank
going to
you
have to get
both.
your grandma on here too.
I
because-
would love that. She is. Can you imagine Grandma Mom? She is hilarious. She's a little spitfire.
She would have
I
some
told her
things
the
to
other
say.
night. I said, "You're sharp as a tack, Grandma. You're like 80 something. How old is she? 88.
86.
86.
Wow.
Her brain is there,
That's
though. Let me
amazing.
tell you. She does not miss a thing.
Well, happy Mother's Day to all of you. We're so glad that you're here with us on the Pink Seat, and we'll see you back next week.
Bye. Thanks for joining us.